Chapter 26, Lady in Red. The evening after Shireen was cured was filled with whispers, rumors, and open celebration. King's Landing teemed with speculation over what they had witnessed earlier that day. Those who had already begun converting to the faith of the drowned god were an answer that their god had a physical presence in the world and would cure the sick if called upon with enough devotion. Those who still believed in the Seven were having a crisis of faith. They had prayed to their gods all their lives and never had any of them actually answered. Things might have just worked out, and they attributed it to the Seven, or they may have gotten worse and wondered why their prayers weren't answered. Meanwhile, the drowned god had quite literally reached out and cured a sick girl at the behest of their queen. The demonstration would prove to be the spark which would lead to vigorous religious debate and considerable religious upheaval in the realm. We feasted to Shireen's health that evening. The nobles of the court couldn't scramble fast enough to have the finest meals and drinks prepared for the table. Their personal cooks worked tirelessly the entire day as they tried to outdo one another with what they could offer for the celebration. The great hall was packed with tables and chairs, with musicians in the balconies to add to the ambiance. Westerosian banners hung alongside banners of the drowned god, the yellow banners of the realm contrasting starkly with the dark black and blues of the gods. As the feast went on, I turned my attention to Shireen's father. "Lord Stannis, I must ask you why you have that fire priestess with you." Stannis looked at me, his face honest with irritation. Irritation at the mention of the priestess, not at me. "In truth, your grace, she had recently arrived, spouting nonsense about a great other, and how her god wished to use me to defeat it." I nodded, accepting the explanation. "And you brought her here for what reason?" "Only so that she could tell you of her visions," Stannis replied. "I thought it best for you to hear them and gauge the truth of them." "I'm surprised you didn't drown her for trying to speak to you about the Lord of Light," Tyrion quipped. Stannis' face remained stoic. "If the queen faults no man living for the god he chooses to worship, why should I? She has not tried to convert me or mine, and her visions are worthless compared to your wife's, my lord. What care I for some delusional mad woman from across the sea? And yet, you brought her here all the same," Tyrion countered. "You must care something for her." "Not for her," Stannis shook his head, "but for the realm. I've known the queen long enough to accept that visions can be real and can be acted upon. She says she has visions of a danger to the realm. Then it is my duty to let the queen hear it from the source." "You did well to bring her," I commended him. "But I have to wonder what other motivations she might have. Priests and priestesses of R'hllor have a tendency to try and spread their faith like fire." "Thoros of Myr doesn't," Tyrion said. "Thoros is a drunk and likely doesn't remember half the battles he's been in," I replied. "I should know. I've fought alongside him a few times, and each time he's tried carrying me off the battlefield, thinking I was a lost child. This woman, however, is a zealot. I can see it in her eyes, and she's hiding a great many truths." "I'm sorry. Can we go back to Thoros thinking you were a child?" Tyrion laughed. I shot him a look that said now was not the time. He cleared his throat. "Right. A story for later, then." "Aye," Stannis nodded. "She's been hiding things from me. That much I could tell. She was hoping to dig her fingers into the hearts of my men, but she underestimated what the drowned god had done for us. There's more about her, I'm sure of it." I sat and thought for a few moments. "Have her brought before me once the feast is over. I already know why she's here, but I want her to drop her pretenses and be honest with me." Stannis bowed his head. "It will be done, your grace." A few hours later, the great hall had been cleared and cleaned after the feast. I sat upon the iron throne with the small council standing to either side. The Queen's Guard stood spread out around the stairs leading to the throne. Traiana sat on the floor to my right, Alifric to my left, and Mehrunes in front of me. Stannis appeared at the entrance alongside Melisandre. The pair of them walked through the pillars toward the throne. Stannis's steps echoed callously through the hall, while Melisandre didn't make any noise whatsoever. I kept my chain high and my expression disdainful as I watched them approach. The pair stopped a few yards from the stairs. Stannis bowed his head. Melisandre dipped into a polite curtsy. Melisandre was beautiful, fair-skinned, with piercing, fierce eyes and long, straight red hair. "I've brought the priestess as you commanded, Your Grace," Stannis said. "Her name is—" "Melisandre," I cut him off. "I know. Thank you, Lord Stannis." Stannis bowed his head once more and stepped off to the side. I stared down at the priestess. The air of mysticism she was putting on irritated me. "Tell me, why have you come to Westeros?" "I have come on behest of the Lord of Light to steer Westeros to action, Your Grace," Melisandre replied. "The enemy of all life, the Great Other, is stirring in the north. The realms of men must be prepared." "You're far too late for that, I'm afraid," I replied. "We have been preparing for the enemy you speak of since Robert took his throne. But I'll discuss nothing more until you drop your pretenses. Speak to me truthfully." Melisandre's head canted ever so slightly, her expression allowing some confusion to break through. "I have spoken only the truth, Your Grace. My mission is to stop the other." "I didn't doubt your word," I said calmly, but with an edge to my voice. "I said to drop your pretenses and speak to me truthfully." "I'm not sure what you're referring to, Your Grace," Melisandre replied. Her tone might have been believable if I didn't know what I knew about her. My eyes narrowed as I glared at her. I could feel the magic coming from the fiery jewel that she wore about her neck. I sifted through the magic it contained. A kind of link, an attunement to elemental magic, a life-sustaining charm, and a powerful glamour. I turned to Alan and nodded my head. He reached out a hand out, knowing just what I wanted from him since we'd spoken about it beforehand, and snapped his fingers, canceling the glamour surrounding her. As the magic faded away, Melisandre transformed from the beautiful temptress she was pretending to be into withered, hunched old crone. Her skin was wrinkled and mottled, pale as death. Her eyes were near lifeless and gray, and her hair was white, stringy, and only clinging to her in thin patches. She was a wretch, and I smirked superiorly as she panicked at the deception being snatched away. Everyone in the great hall recoiled at the sight. I could hear a few of them whisper about deception, or her being cursed. "Do you understand the pretense I was speaking of now, crone?" I asked imperiously. Melisandre looked up at me, horrified and exposed. "How? How did you— Yet I still live." "Your god's magic is a trifle," I said calmly as I pet Triana's head. "I had my master of magic remove the one spell that allowed you to think you could negotiate with me in bad faith. Now you can speak with me truthfully, as the person you truly are." She looked like she wanted to flee, as if she were on the wrong side of a miracle and the wrath of an angry god was upon her. She wasn't exactly wrong. "So, I ask you again what your purpose is," I said. "I know you're here to help against the other, but do not deny that you would spread the faith of the Lord of Light while doing so." "If," she stammered, "if, by my example, others are brought to his side." "Stop right there," I shook my head. "You bore witness to the drowned god healing a sick girl yesterday, did you not?" "Yes, Your Grace," she nodded. "The sight was imposing. Tell me this. Has the Lord of Light ever shown himself in such a way?" I asked. She stared up at me as hard as her withered face could manage, then reluctantly admitted, "No, Your Grace." "But he can perform similar acts, yes?" I pressed. "At his pleasure and with great sacrifice," she answered hesitantly. "I make no sacrifices to my God," I countered. "I merely ask for his favor. He has made himself known to the world and will begin keeping its people safe. His first act was bringing me into this world to fight the other. Ruller seems to be taking his time with the matter. My life has been dedicated to preparing for this day, Melisandre protested. Ruller tells me what I need to know and nothing more. No, I shook my head. He gives you glimpses that you have to interpret. I told you to speak truthfully with me. I'm not some daisy-eyed dunce. You can fool with your vague guesses and crude rituals. There's nothing your god can offer me to tempt me, so save your half-truths for others. Your grace is unfair, Melisandre said. I act according to my god's will. I sacrificed all to become the instrument of his will. Mortal minds can only hope to interpret the will of gods. Even you cannot know what is wanted of you precisely. The queen is intimately aware of the desires of the drowned god. Alan spoke up. He has been speaking to her directly since she was a babe. Melisandre's eyes narrowed into her wrinkled skin as she looked at Alan. You call her queen, but she is queen in name only. She is as much a man might be the owner of a dog might be should someone hand the mongrel to them. Excuse me? I asked with a tone that dared her to repeat herself. She focused on me. You are not the rightful ruler of this realm. Lord Stannis, by all rights, should be king after his brother stepped down. Yet the crown was passed to you. You are merely holding the crown till someone with actual right comes to claim it. Careful, priestess, I cautioned her. I have no quarrel with you, but you are coming dangerously close to insulting me, and I do not tolerate disrespect. I have earned this throne and the responsibility that comes with it. If you want to live to see your mission fulfilled, you'll do well to start showing me proper respect. I came to offer you my help and the aid of my god, Melisandre replied. Beyond that, and courteous conversation, what more respect could you ask for, your grace? My eyes flared angrily. I stood and began to make my way down the stairs, my pace calm and methodical, my eyes locked on hers. I see Lord Stannis has not taught you proper courtesy in Westeros. It would seem that duty falls to me. I believe we should start with the most simple lessons first. If I have skipped on a courtesy, your grace, Melisandre replied with a sly hint of sarcasm, then I will gladly correct myself. Good, I said, as I stopped in front of her. I reached up and grabbed the hag by her hair and yanked her down. She let out a yelp as she fell to her knees. She grabbed at my wrists in an attempt to break my grasp. Your grace, please. The first custom you forgot was that when being presented to the monarch for the first time, I explained with a growl, you kneel, then you bow your head. She tried her best to lower her head. I am a servant of the Lord of Light. You cannot. I pressed her to the polished stone floor of the great hall and knelt beside her. I do not care if you were a fellow priestess of the drowned god. You do not come into my throne room and talk like I'm the one who should be listening to you. My god will... Melisandre gasped as I pressed harder on her head, the sound of her skull starting to splinter. I lowered myself to keep my eyes locked with hers, whispering just loud enough for her to hear me, but no one else. Your god will do nothing. He is impotent. He is powerless. And the magic he granted you? It had to go through me. I leaned in close and purred into her ear, as the cracking of her skull from the pressure I was applying grew greater. You didn't mock a girl today. You didn't mock a queen. You mocked the god of magic. Any blessings you might have bestowed, resurrections you might have performed, they needed me to allow them. And now I will send you to Ruller so that you might ask why he led you to the throne of the goddess of magic, Witch Queen, the queen in yellow, who has allied herself with the drowned god, just so you could die. And should he see fit to resurrect you, remember this, I growled. I can tolerate disrespect, but I hate veiled disrespect more than anything. With that, I stood, raised her head up, then smashed it into the floor, crushing it as easily as a boiled apple. Blood poured from her eyes, ears, and mouth as she lay lifeless on the floor, pooling around her at a slow, steady pace. I looked at Stannis, whose expression was respectably neutral. Lord Stannis, Please ensure this mess is cleaned up. Put it in a cell in the dungeons, just in case it stands back up again." Stannis arched a brow. "Stands back up, Your Grace?" "The Lord of Light is notorious for bringing his followers back from the dead when he's active," I explained. "If he likes this one, she'll be alive again soon enough. If she returns, ensure her attitude is adjusted before I speak to her again." Stannis bowed his head. "As you command, Your Grace." With that, I turned to the small council. "My lords and ladies, we are done for the day. I will see you at tomorrow's meeting. My lord husband, please escort me to our chambers. I need to relax after that." The council members dispersed one by one. The Queen's Guard formed up around us as Tyrion hooked his arm around mine. "Remind me not to get on your bad side," Tyrion said with a shiver. "Stay on my backside, and you'll stay off my bad side," I quipped through my frustration. His eyes sparkled as he grinned. "I live to serve.